What's going on, everybody? It's Blandon here from Elite 4 TV, and this is how to not do your Kingdom Cup. So recently I just finished a mini Kingdom Cup up in Wellington. It's in another city. It's called Armageddon, and it's kind of like a Comic-Con, and there's a lot of cosplay and trading card games there, and there was a Pokemon Go tournament. And yeah, I didn't do so well. I had a bye in my first match, and then I went 2-1, and I would say it was a less competitive environment, but I made some really costly mistake in my final. So I want to show you so that you can learn from them and you don't make it in yours, okay? So the preparation going in, it's very simple. I went with the double scissors strategy. So if you guys don't know what it is, it's basically going in with two of the same type Pokemon. So in this scenario, it's Lucario and Blaziken. And it's going to be paired with Altaria and Bastion. And why do we do that? So if you guys haven't noticed, in this Kingdom Cup, Lucario can churn through almost everything by himself. And he only has a couple of counters, such as Blaziken. And then Altaria kind of counters. If you can shield bait a Shadow Ball, you can win. And then if you lose your Lucario, Blaziken is like a second life, right? So the reason why we run this is to counter the popular flavor of the months, alright? So you've got the meta line number 1, Bastiodon, Lucario, and Charizard. This is very common, and it's a line that King IV runs as well. And then you've got meta line number 2, Altaria, Lucario, Lapras. Very good coverage for each other. With Lucario and Blaziken, what it can do is if you can get rid of the counter in these lines, which in the first line is Charizard, if you can get rid of that, a Blaziken can take out the Lucario and Bastiodon almost by himself. And if you take out the Altaria in the second line, Lucario can actually, or Blaziken, can finish off Lucario and Lapras by himself. So very important. Okay, in the first match we're up against Kiwicuba, and if you look at this lineup, if you line up Lapras against any of them, you can actually win. So instead of playing the line that I wanted to play, I decided to start with Lapras. It just made a lot more sense. So make sure you don't make the same mistake when you go to your kingdom. Make sure you have good coverage. Surprise, we have Altaria. So positive matchup for us. I decided to run Ice Shard Lapras because I just didn't have enough candies to dump on my other my Ice Beam Lapras. But I have that ready to go now. So here we go. We are going to shield bait with a Surf, and he decides to shield here. So we're going to get another Surf off. No, we're going to finish it off Ice Shard. Here we face Blaziken. We are going to spam that Surf. And he decides to shield now. He's down 2 shields. And we are going to let Altaria come out. And he decides to swap him to Steelix. And we swap out Lucario. And this should be pretty much over. We decide to shield the Crunch. And use a Power Up Punch. And we should be able to finish this really quickly. And then Blaziken comes out to one-shot Lucario, but Altaria here to finish with Sky Attack. So GG round 1. Now round number 2, I decided to start with Lapras again, and against Charizard, we're all good. So we are going to just spam the Surf. Here he decided not to shield bait me, so it was obvious as a Dragon Claw. I decided to not shield, and we use the Surf. He's going to shield. And we're going to get another Surf really quickly because we're using Ice Shard Lapras. I do think Ice Shard has his place in the Kingdom Cup. I think it's better if you're using some certain lineups, the Ice Shard Lapras actually do better than the Water Gun. So here we go. He did really well, like storing up 2 Dragon Claws. I didn't expect that. So yeah, think about that for your Kingdom Cup as well. Maybe just spamming those charge moves all at once. So Altaria versus Altaria. I'm going to get a Sky Attack off, and he is very likely going to try get Dragon Pulse because that's the only way he could win in the scenario. And I shield, so now we're facing Steelix, and we get a Sky Attack off. We have to swap straight away because we don't want him to get enough energy for Earthquake. So we get power up punch to finish off the match. So GG Kiwi Cuba. In the second game we are up against Wilson, and you can see his line is very meta centered with Alolan Ninetales in the flex spot to counter the dragons. So I'm going to use the double scissor strategy, and you can see how that will play out. So to begin, we have Altaria versus Altaria. In this scenario, you don't really want to shield your Altaria because you want to have one shield for Lucario and one shield for Blaziken. But in this instance, I did a Sky Attack, and for some reason, he decides to Dragon Pulse, which is the correct play, and I decided to shield because I get to see what he's going to swap into. So he swaps into Lucario, which is great. We get to force a shield here, and he is going to use his shield, and then we're going to let our Altaria go. Blaziken's going to come in, and he has to at least have one shield against Lucario. He's going to Shadow Ball us, and we're going to finish it off with just counters. We should be able to get at least one Brave Bird off, and because counter does super effective damage, we're not going to let Lapras gain too much energy here, so we swap into Lucario straight away. We tank a Surf, and we finish it off with Power Up Punch, and that's GG round 1. So you can see that was devastating with 2 Pokemon with counters. And in round 2, we decide to swap in for the Bastiodon because our opponent is likely going to play some counters, and the counters can be taken by Bastiodon. So even though he swapped into Lapras, we're good because Stone Edge is going to do super effective damage, and we're actually in a good position here. We're just going to tank the Surf, and I'm going to swap into another Pokemon because I didn't want my Lucario to have to take the Surf, but in this instant he does get another Surf off. I decide to shield, and in this instant I don't charge up any of the rings on the Power Up Punch so that I can farm a little bit more energy for the next round. So here I am gonna get another Power Up Punch off. So here we go, the Ninetales goes down really quick, and now we've got triple stacked Power Punch. We get a third Power Punch off, and even though it's resisted, it's doing a ton of damage, and we get one more Power Up Punch off, which is insane, and he is forced to shield. Now we have Bastiodon to finish off the Altaria. So as you can see, that combo itself is very good coverage, and in this instant, I mean, I didn't even have to use Blaziken, so Lucario and Bastiodon really did a good job. So GG round 2. So in my last game, I'm against Aerosol, and if you don't know him, he actually was the first one to solo Ninetales raid. So you can actually YouTube him. If you look for Ninetales solo, that's him. And he plays with Brandon Tan, and he plays with Kiang IV, so he's one of the top raiders in Wellington. PvP is sort of like a side project for him, but you know, he just threw a team together for Armageddon, and yeah, he threw me off a little bit. So you're going to be able to see exactly what happened, and it's going to be interesting matches and some interesting lessons there as well. Now notice that his lineup is exactly the same as mine, but I have one intel, and the intel is that he was quite proud of the fact that he didn't actually have Blaziken, and he was just putting it on his line of 6 as a bluff. So that was an intel for me, so I'm comfortable to run Lucario with Bastiodon. So round 1 I decided to start with Bastiodon because it would be a pretty safe lead unless we face Lucario, but we can swap into Blaziken. In this instant, because it's Marowak, you can see it's a Hex Marowak. It's all good, so we decide to get a Stone Edge off. He would be forced to shield here, or he would get one shot. We take another Bone Club. We're going to try save our shield for our guys in the back. He decides to swap in his Lucario, and that was so quick, but it was really well played there. But because his Lucario is stuck now, we're able to just farm it with the Blaziken, which is great. Now he's going to swap in his Lapras. Because it is an Ice Shard Lapras, we can actually beat it with one shield. But because my Blaziken is not on full HP, I'm going to let him go, and then I'm going to let Lucario come in to farm some energy. And this is actually where my mistake is. I shouldn't have used the Power Up Punch knowing my opponent has no shield, and also the fact that he only has a Marowak in the back, and the only way I can take that down is with a Shadow Ball. So yeah, this is the biggest mistake, because now he can get a Bone Club off. My Power Up Punch, I thought I would have enough energy, I thought I would do enough damage, but obviously not, and it's a double KO, so we have a draw round 1. So round number 2, I went with the same line. So we're against Marowak again, but yeah, I mean, I would just tank the Marowak because it's a positive matchup for us. So we're going to try get that Stone Edge off, and he decides to swap in Lucario, which is great, and we're going to swap in Blaziken. And in this scenario, in this instance, he is going to use Power Up Punch. We have to shield, otherwise our Blaziken would lose. Now he's going to let his Marowak come back in, I'm pretty sure. Yep. So we are going to use our Brave Bird before our Blaziken dies. And now I had to stop here, because if I was to use Bastion here, I would get super effective damage on the Marowak. But knowing that I played 2 fighting, I'm thinking my opponent would play Altaria in the back. So I decided to use Lucario as a shield pretty much for the Bastion, hoping that Altaria is in the back, and you know, we can finish Marowak first, and Bastion should be able to solo the Altaria with 1 Stone Edge. So out comes Lucario. I decide to shield the first move because I didn't know if it was going to be Shadow Ball or not, but here we go. I get a Power Up Punch off, and I'm just so surprised how little damage it does. It's such a good counter for Lucario. And here we go, he gets his Bone Club off, and we finish it off with 1 hit. And out comes Lapras, and I was just so surprised. After the match, I talked to my opponent, and he didn't really actually think about his line, so that's why he has Lapras in the back. So that's GG round 2. Okay, so round 3, I lost. And so basically what happened, I decided to play the same line. And the reason why is that if he decides to lead with Lucario, I can swap into Blaziken, and then I can sacrifice the Blaziken for whatever, and I can farm energy with Bastion, and then I would be able to go back in with Lucario to finish off the match. So if you guys were very observant, you would notice that round 1 and round 2, his Marowak actually changed fast move. And after the match, we actually talked about it. He apologized, and he realized that this is not the right thing to do in the tournament, which is fine. So it was a learning curve for me as well, because I didn't notice that during the match. And the reason why I lost round 3 was because he led with Marowak again, and Marowak with Rock Smash actually will tie with a Bastion with 1 shield. And because my Bastion is not maxed out, I left it in, and I was just thinking, why did I lose to a Marowak? Because I know this matchup with 1 shield I would definitely beat it. But yeah, obviously I didn't notice that. So pay attention, guys. Make sure you guys are paying attention to the fast move. And another thing that I learned is obviously with Lucario, I shouldn't be always spamming the Power Up Punch. I think in some instance I just need to think a little bit quicker, like that first match with Aerosol. If I saved the Shadow Ball, if I just farmed the energy there, I would have won that match and could have achieved a different result. And I guess the third thing is don't overthink yourself sometimes. I think I overthought about the matchup that time with Aerosol. You just got to know your opponent a little bit better, because yeah, I guess that's the main thing. Someone more competitive, they might think of the lineup slightly differently. So overall, I had a lot of fun in Wellington, and yeah, hopefully you guys learned something there. My actual Kingdom Cup is actually at the end of the month on the 27th, and I've done a whole lot of practice. There's a few more lineups that I've been using, and look forward to sharing those with you guys. So hopefully that was helpful in some way. If you did enjoy that, I would really appreciate it if you guys like and subscribe. And until next time, good luck with your Kingdom Cup. If you guys haven't done it, I'll talk to you guys soon.